The following series contains opinions from paid professionals. The information provided in this video is general in nature and not advice. For free and confidential support, call 1800 858 858 or visit www.gamblinghelpline.org.au. Hello and welcome to another episode of Grace and Gator's Cup Countdown. Gator, can you believe we are 2 weeks away from the Melbourne Cup here at Flemington?
That we are. Still waiting for a horse or two to put their hand up. Obviously, we saw Buckaroo. It was probably the run of the month and an outstanding individual performance. We're still not sure if he'll stay, but behind him, gee, there were some big gaps.
Yeah, Caulfield Cup Day, Everest Day up in Sydney. There's a lot to dissect that we will do on the show.
Yep.
But we did sit here this time last week and we did say that sitting here today, we'd be so much clearer on the Melbourne Cup picture, but how do you feel about that statement now?
Look, I'd like to edit it out and revise that one.
Yep.
We're not a lot clearer. As I say, a couple of outstanding individual efforts. Good to see Athabaskan back in form, and a couple of those back in the field were forgivable in fairness, but they just don't come off an average run and win our great race as a rule.
In terms of news, since we were last doing this show, well, no news out of Werribee is generally a good thing because it means that they're all settling in well, they're all doing their work, they're all perfectly fine looking ahead to the big race. Warmonger, however, is one horse that the connections have decided will not take his place in the Melbourne Cup and has instead been sent to the paddock.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm out of horses for my stable, which is problematic if you want to win the race, but we'll find some more to put in there.
We will find some more to put in there, and for now, let's check in with the TAB senior trader, Tim Ryan, for a market update.
G'day Grace, g'day Gator. Melbourne Cup betting, I think it's a hell of a lot clearer after Saturday's Caulfield Cup. We don't have to worry about the winner, Duke Decessor. He wasn't nominated, and connections possibly ruining their decision. Buckaroo, he was a word on everyone's lips. $26 before the race. We immediately made him a $10 chance, and he's now a $7 chance and second favourite after connections indicated they will indeed head that way. Originally, we had him pegged as a risk at the 2 miles. The way he ran out the 2,400 metres on Saturday, I don't think that'll be an issue. I honestly think he could even challenge for favouritism come race day, as the local punters will absolutely love him. Land Legend was the only one that kept his place in the market after his run on Saturday. He got a pass mark and stays as a $15 chance. Everything else, out the gate, and I'm willing to put a pen through all of them. We're looking for other form lines this week, and Geelong Cup and Moonee Valley Cup are the 2 key races. A couple of imports to keep an eye on. Birdman, a $34 chance, and One Smooth Operator, a $51 chance. They need to win something to likely get into the race. And Francesco Guardi, another one to keep an eye on. He's high up in betting as a $26 chance. He's in the field on the weights, but he hasn't passed the first ballot clause. He'll need to finish 1, 2 or 3 in one of those races this week. Before I send it back to you guys, one question I'm wondering about Jan Bruegel. We saw Sadati fail on the weekend. He has the same form line. Are you worried about it? Do you think that form stacks up? Or are you just willing to put it down to a failure on the day?
It's a great question. Look, I think they would have preferred that horse to run better, but I don't think it necessarily impacts Jan Bruegel's. It's all going to come down, in my opinion, to how he lands and settles in here. I think he's a rightful favourite for the race. He fits the right profile. He's obviously unbeaten, but we've seen horses come here with similar profiles and be beaten out of sight, and others run enormous. So there's still some question marks and some unknowns. Yeah,
and you don't know until the day, and in hindsight, it paints the picture when it comes to the internationals and how they've travelled. I will say though, I'm a firm believer that if a horse keeps on winning, it doesn't matter what was in behind them because they just keep on winning and beating the opposition that is in the field. So Sadati's not a winner every time, Jan Bruegel is. So I think that I'd still be confident with Jan coming out and being able to make his presence felt if he has settled in really well, which is the reports that we are hearing. So let's get into our review, and we're going to look at the Caulfield Cup first. Now, obviously the winner of the race, Duke Decessor, was enormous, sitting up on top of the speed, which was an advantageous place to be on the day. What do we make of the beaten brigade there?
Yeah, well, as I sort of referenced, I think Buckaroo was one of the runs of the month. You know, I think it was not only the run of the day, it was absolutely outstanding. Should have won easily. That's not taking anything away from Duke Decessor. They thrashed everything else. So, will he stay? I mean, on his pedigree, he'll stay. But it's still guesswork, isn't it? What do they say? Ian Thorpe's brother couldn't swim, etc., etc. Back in the field, Land Legend, he's got to learn to settle. he's in the right hands to do that. But can he do it within 2 weeks? Can he learn? Maybe he's 12 months away. Zardozi, similar story. We know she's a good Flemington horse. And those back in the field, Valiant King, Warp Speed, I think they made the forgive file, the forgive runs, but they've got to turn around a big, long margin.
It was a massive margin, wasn't it? And, you know, looking back at this race last year, we had Without a Fight just so dominant with his win to suggest I am a genuine Melbourne Cup horse. And, you know, I suppose you could potentially put a parallel there towards the run of Buckaroo because it was simply enormous. He should have won the race, arguably, if he had been able to get out and get clear galloping room sooner than he did. So, look, I think he definitely is a key contender. Will he stay? That's the query. For me, Land Legend still firmly in the picture. He does need to settle, but as you say, Chris Waller is a master trainer. He can work on things to make him do that, and it was a complete forgive run, in my opinion, the way that he popped off and had to get building into the race early. To stick on for third, still pretty good. So Land Legend sticks in my stable. Buckaroo probably jumps in, I would say. What about in Sydney? We saw Athabascan bounce back to form. Do you think that St Leger Stakes win and that form is going to be strong enough to make him a chance in a Melbourne Cup?
Well, the thing is with him and plenty of his mates, they're sort of mixing their form, aren't they? So it's good to see him back in form. I mean, he won the race quite well. Maybe a bit more jar out of the track was advantageous for him. I was trying to work out a reason how he turned his form around from a couple of average runs. He ran so well in a Sydney Cup behind Circle of Fire. Again, that horse failed in the Caulfield Cup. So, so look, I think he's back on the radar because he's running well and so many are not.
And because we know that he stays. At least that's a tick for the box of Athabascan, potentially Circle of Fire as well, if he was to bounce back again. But as we said, plenty of unknowns at this stage. So now we look ahead to what's going to be a massive weekend of racing. Of course, it's Cox Plate Day. We've got the Moonee Valley Gold Cup, which is going to be key as well on Friday night, with a handful of really important horses in that race, and the Geelong Cup on Wednesday as well. But just the Moonee Valley Gold Cup, it's only a small field, but there's some key contenders in it. If they bring their best, they can go on with the job. Yeah,
agree. There's a recent profile out of that race. Prince of Penzance, I know he was 100 to 1, but he ran really well in a fast rendition of that race. So given the way the landscape is, it's a race we need to keep a close eye on.
What about the Cox Plate and a couple of potential wild cards? I speak of Kovalica and Via Sistina going into the great race, but then potentially eyeing a Melbourne Cup berth as well.
Yeah, well, Kovalica's an interesting one. I mean, he's always shaped as if he'd stay really well, but he's having trouble winning again, isn't he? And we know Via Sistina's got just world class, but her levels of endurance are unknown. You know, if So You Think can be beaten in a Melbourne Cup because he didn't quite stay, then I'm sure she can.
So I'm thinking that we're both desperately wanting an X-Factor horse to put their hand up. Maybe Buckaroo is almost in that category. Could it be Via Sistina as well in a Cox Plate?
Yeah, look, I'm certainly keeping them high on my radar just because of the way the landscape is. So, and Buckaroo, he couldn't have done any more than that at Caulfield, and we know that's traditionally the best lead-up race. So, all eyes on this weekend, and hopefully we can come to a winning conclusion soon.
Yes, we've got 2 weeks to do it. Hopefully it will be done in the next fortnight, but that's all we've got time for in today's Grayson Gators Cup Countdown edition. We'll catch you next week.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.